Good afternoon. Well, we're back on the Buck and Spike program. This time for, I don't know what it is. It's a Johnson Red. I can't remember the model number. It's the same as the Husqvarna 466, I think. Don't quote me on it. But we've gone through various iterations. Too fat, too skinny. This one is just right. So that's what we're gonna do. That's our fit up. Showed you guys kind of how I like to do that. There we go. That's our fit up on the saw. But today, the reason why I'm filming this, because you guys already have seen how we go about doing this. Today, we are going to make a pattern to mass produce these, because this time I have to make 4 sets. And 4 sets makes it worth it to make a pattern. So I kind of did a proof of concept on pattern making for these. This is, it just, whatever. This was when I was seeing how quickly I could cut the spike portion, and then I figured I would just make each one the backside. So I left a lot of material back here to have room for the tab. Turns out I didn't leave enough though. But the proof of concept was I can make a jig. I can then produce them somewhat more efficiently. I mean, making these things is still very time consuming, but it's worth it and the results are worth it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a pattern like this for each one of these. And what I'll do is I'll cut all 4 of them out for either side, so 4 and 4. And then I will weld them all together and grind them all together and transfer all my holes together. And they will be as identical as they can be for being made manually, right? Like we're not using precision equipment here. We're using grinders and plasma cutters, and I really wish I had a bandsaw, because I really think a bandsaw would make this a lot easier, especially some of the contour. Well, it'd be hard to bandsaw this radius out, that I'll say for sure, but that's what we're gonna do. So I'm going to set up the GoPro, we're going to shoot some time lapse, and yeah, quick little video on Buck and Spurs, the template version. I really think this is going to save me a ton of time. My only hope now is, do I have enough material? I should. It doesn't take up as much material now that I'm not cutting off a bunch of extra because I don't know what I need. Now I know exactly what I need. I like them. I like them. These are lean and mean. I don't know these. This is the same material I used on my 440, and I did manage to bend the one on my 440. I managed to bend. Where is that? Where is that sucker? There it is. I managed to bend this one. It bent right here because I didn't leave a ton of material. That hole was a little ambitious. If I would have probably left even a 1/16 of an inch more. It bent so slightly though. I didn't even know it was bent until I took it off to measure it and just whatever. And I put it on my flat table. And that's when I noticed that it was a little bit tweaked. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up a sheet of some 10 gauge hard ox. I think that would be a really good material to use for these. Although it might make the drilling and all that next to impossible. But we'll see. So that's what we're going to do. And I might also, just for fun, I might make an identical set of this one, which is off my 440, for this 466. I already kind of cut it out. I got these 2 pieces welded together so that I could grind them together. And I might put the back half on these and make a set like this for this 466 also, just for my own purposes, and then start looking for a 466. I think that would be pretty. You can imagine what it would look like if it fit on there, because it doesn't come anywhere close to fitting. I think that would look pretty aggressive. Anyway, oh, I changed the bottom spike too on the template version. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and make another set of these. I like these ones. I'm gonna look for a saw for myself. So you can see I changed the bottom spur on it. I made it a little bit longer so that it would grab a little bit sooner. Also, I like the way that it sits better because this one, it sits right here. And I made it this way on purpose because my bar, this is far enough forward with my 24-inch bar on there that it doesn't want to tip. But a longer bar, it would probably want to tip. So by making this bottom spike flatter and longer, it'll prevent that for, you know, because I think I'm going to try out some bigger bars too. I think I'm going to try 28, maybe a 32. See how that works out for me. But yeah, more bucking spurs. This time I went ham on cutting out parts I just cut out a whole, I used that template I made to cut out like 6 of them so that if I wanted to change things, I could just quickly grab a fresh one and cut the back off and get it to fit better, which is why I got all these versions that I wasn't quite so happy with. But I think we've landed on the winning design. Anyway, off we go. So we're ready to make our first test cut. And one of the things I picked up right away when I was making these templates is you got to clean them up a little bit, but you don't have to go crazy. What you definitely can't have is any high spots. If there's a low spot and the plasma dips out a bit, I can just grind that off. But a high spot makes a gouge that I'll then either have to remove more material that I want to when I grind the finished part, or have to touch it up with a welder. So I had to touch up a couple little places in here because they were too low. They were going to hang up the torch when I came around the corner. This is an awkward thing to do no matter how you do it, but yeah, that's what we're going to run with. So hopefully this will allow me to cut out 4 of them really quickly, and where I'm really going to save time is it's going to minimize the grinding. I'm still going to have to do a fair amount of grinding, but it should be pretty darn close just the way it comes out. So let's do a cut and see how that turns out. It's not horrible, but you can see that there's some areas where the bottom piece sticks out there. So that's not going to work. I can't grind that down because it's already smaller. It's not terrible, but the back actually fits up pretty nice. It's not terrible, but you can't. See the bottom sticks out there? It's hard to get her to zoom. But by the time I clean that cut up, it'll be smaller. So what I need to do, and then this one here, this one's off. And I know why it's off, because when I cut my template out, I blew out the side and then I just welded this piece on here to make up the difference. But it obviously closed up a little bit or something when I welded it, which kind of changed the geometry. So I have a couple options here. One of which is I can grind out areas on my template to allow to leave additional material. So I can grind these a little deeper, which will bring my cut in a little further. I'd have to grind this down a little bit too, make it a little bit wider. Like make this space a little bigger to leave more material. I would like to grind off about a 1/16 to an 1/8. That gives me some room to work, and it'll take care of anywhere where I gouge it in a little bit. I'm probably going to have to touch them up with a welder a little bit here and there no matter what. But, so yeah, I can either grind out my template a little bit bigger, or what I was just thinking was, I wonder if I can find a way to evenly add a 1/16 of material all the way around here. Like take a piece of welding wire, maybe bend welding wire around there and tack it on in a few places. So that'll allow me to just cut out a bigger hole, which will then give me that additional material to work with. I think I might try that because I've never done it. So yeah, if I could add a 1/16 onto here, then that'll give me all the leeway I need to have some room to grind it down to match this part. I want it to match this part almost perfectly. It can be a little bit different, but they can't be a whole bunch different, because where everything lays right now is where I want it to. So I think that's what we're going to try. I think I'm going to try wrapping a piece of wire around here. First, I should see if I have any wire. I might have to go to the neighbors and borrow a piece of TIG rod or something. Some 1/16 inch TIG rod would be perfect. Steel TIG rod, because then I can contour it and just tack it on as I go. Grind my tacks flush, and that'll give me an additional 1/16 all the way around for that plasma cutter to ride up against. Plus, now that I think about it, it will make it a little smoother so I can ride on the tip, because this edge is still a little rough. And even if unless I polish it, anything short of polishing it gives me a little bit of drag on the cutter, which makes it hard. It's not bad when you're pulling, but it's really hard when you're trying to go sideways to not have it shake and bounce. I'm going to try that. Never tried it before. Maybe that's a good way to... It'd be good to learn how to make templates for stuff like this. I used to make templates out of wood, but I just don't have any. And with the price of wood right now, it's probably cheaper to waste steel, to be honest with you. Anyway, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to try the wire method, provided I can find something that works. In the end, I ended up just widening out the template that I already had. I didn't have any suitable wire, and I really didn't want to leave the shop because, as you guys all know, as soon as you leave the shop, the productivity for the day is just out the window. So I don't even like going in the house to get coffee because there's a chance the couch might grab me on the way by, and I have a hell of a time wrestling myself off that couch sometimes. It's got better jiu-jitsu than I do, that's for darn sure. So we're going to do cut number 2. If this one turns out, then we're going to do 3 more real quick. So let's see what we get this time. So after 3 tweaks, that's what we got. So we got a little bit of overhang in the back. There it's pretty close. Everywhere's pretty close. Here, I guess I went way too much. So that tooth shape might change a little bit. I don't know that I'll grind all that off, but here's the thing. They don't have to be identical to this one, but the dimensions, like hole location and stuff, does. And I do want that bottom one to be just a scooch longer, which it is. Just a scooch. And so I'm going to cut out 4. They should all come out more or less like that one. I'll weld them all together, grind them all together. I might even grind all 8 together, to be honest with you. That might be easy too. We'll see. Either way, I'm going to either weld them in a stack of 4 or a stack of 8, and they all get ground at the same time. And then they should be close enough to same by each. And then each set I'll match up and make sure they match real nice. And I'll just label them. So that's what we're going to do. I mean, that was a little bit of messing around, I ain't going to lie. That took me probably at least an hour. At least an hour. But it'll save me a bunch of time, because when I try to plasma cut them out by hand, I end up with a ton of grinding. So we'll see. And at the very least, I can always make more in the future. I can make them in batches. Batches of 3 or 4 should be plenty. But yeah, that's our template. I used to use, when I was working as a fabricator, we had this stuff called fiberboard. It's basically fiberglass plywood. That stuff made the best plasma cutting templates, because it doesn't burn. So what happens here is, you can see, sometimes you get hung up and boom, you blow a hole in your template. I got to weld that up now, because that's going to catch me every time I go by there. So I got to weld that up and grind it smooth. So fiberboard was awesome, and it was easy to cut it on a bandsaw, cut it with a Dremel, sand it, whatever. It was really easy to work with, and the plasma cutter couldn't hurt it, and it could handle the heat. I think that's why it's better than like plastic or wood. I've made them out of wood, but wood does light on fire on occasion while you're cutting, and they definitely don't last very long, whereas the fiberboard templates, they'd last a long time. Anyway, off we go. There you have it. 4 and 4. I was able to make the second pattern a little bit quicker. And I actually got quite a bit better at cutting them out as I got some practice in along the way. They're not perfect, but they'll grind out just the same. This one's flipped here. This one's supposed to be that way. This one here, I got a little carried away. I think I caught an edge on my template where I blew a hole in it or something, where there was a burr there. But yeah, not bad, not bad. Couple more hours of grinding, maybe an hour of drilling, and we will be finito. I'm pretty stoked on these ones. There you have it. I did in the end. They're all welded together now. No, I thought I'd make heavy duty and make them 1 inch thick. No, in the end, I welded them all together, and at one point I had 10 of them, but all welded together, so that way I could get them all grinded. Nice. Plasma does an okay job. You can see some gouges left in there. I'll touch them up individually rather than grind all of them down to match one. You know what I mean? Doesn't really matter if they're a little different in there. So I'm figured I might as well leave them welded together now that they're welded together and drill all my holes. So they mount up nice, fits nice, I like it. That one's just hanging out. Lay out my holes. What I'm not going to do, this one bent. This one bent right there. So I'm going to leave more material. I don't know how much more, but more. And avoid that. That's why I got this one out, because I'm trying to get an idea how I want to lay them out. I like lots of holes, that's for sure. This one weighs like nothing. There's hardly any mass to this. I don't know how much it weighs. I guess I could put it on my scale. I might just do that. I might weigh them. I should. Oh, no, then I gotta take them apart. What I was gonna say is I should weigh one before I drill it and see just how much weight drilling them out saves. I know one thing's for sure. It might. It definitely takes away some of the weight, and it definitely adds a lot of the cool. So we're gonna go ahead and drill them regardless. Anyway, I will show you guys the finished product, and that'll be another one in the books. There's a lot of grinding on these. Even with template plasma cutting, it's still a ton of grinding. I probably was on that grinder for 4 or 5 hours per. So 4 or 5 hours, 4 or 5 hours, which is a ridiculous amount of grinding. But if you want to get them nice, you kind of have to. It's the only way to do it. I ended up making the bottom tooth longer. You can see, just a scooch. Just a scooch. I think the other reason, now that I think about it, I was thinking about this earlier, I think this one bent because I always slammed the saw down on it. I think that's why that one got bent. I don't think I got it stuck and bent it. I think it's from putting it down hard, which, I mean, probably something that guys should avoid anyway, but yeah. Anyway, we're going to carry on, and I'll show you what we got when we got it. I had to put her down for a couple days because I wanted to go and get a proper countersunk bit. I used to have one. I don't know where it is. I definitely couldn't find it. And I also needed more abrasives. We're going to try out these Norton ones because the 3M ones are just, they've gotten ridiculous in price. They want $5 a piece now, and that's just silly money for abrasives. So I'm going to try those ones out. They're the cheaper. They make good, better, and best. And I think those are the good ones. But we'll try them. But either way, I got a couple ideas on how we're going to spice these ones up a little bit and make them a little different than the last set we made. So I'm going to do one up and see how I like it and show you guys what I'm thinking. But I think these are going to look pretty sweet and be functional. And there you have it. Look at the light glisten off those blue tip beauties. I did a little bit of like a knife edge kind of profile on these ones. Now they're just soft steel, so they're not going to hold an edge. But I'm going to go ahead and try some other materials. I think some hard ox would be a good place to start. I'm going to do a little bit of research. I'm not just going to run out and buy it. I mean, I might just run out and buy it. Actually, I have some other uses for it. If it doesn't work for these, I got something else I'll throw at it. But yeah, look at that. Oh, that's a good angle right there. So that's what we got. And this is the other set. I'm going to do 2 of them like that. And then I'm doing some experimenting. I'm falling down a rabbit hole. And I might do one of them like that. That one's mine. But I really like that. I think this just is going to get its own video though. Just this process. Because it was like a last second idea. And I've fallen down a rabbit hole. And I'm completely enamored with this process. And I want to learn more about it. And I want to try more of it. So I've been doing some experimenting. Trying to see what I like and what I don't like. But yeah, that's pretty spicy. I like it. This type of finish definitely won't last forever, but it sure looks good, and boy is it easy to do. And I mean like silly easy. This took me 45 seconds, maybe. Super easy. This is my test piece. Some experimenting. Oh, it did kind of transfer a little bit, eh? Interesting. So this one's just heat. Heat till it's blue, dunk it in oil. But at the same time, I tried to transfer some brass. It actually looks like it transferred a little bit. You see how it's gonna... Come on, phone. Why's my phone's having trouble these days? I might have dropped it on the ground one too many times. Like right there, it's kind of brassy looking. Looks different in my naked eye than it does on the phone. But apparently, anyway, to make a long story short, apparently you can get metal hot and then just run a brass wire wheel on it and transfer brass. I didn't know that was a thing. When I went down the rabbit hole of bluing, first I did it, and then I figured, well, I might as well look up, get some info. Jumped on the old YouTube, figure out some different methods for flame bluing, and honestly, the first set that I did without any knowledge whatsoever, I think kind of turned out the best. Oh, what happened to my good light? Oh, there it is. Yeah. Anyway, she's spicy. We're gonna do another video separate about bluing because I got some experimenting to do. But that's gonna cap this off for today. One more shot. Where's the good angle? Right there. Whew. Spicy. I like it. I fell in love with these at the end. They always look a little silly to me in the beginning, but at the end when they come out like this, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Have a great day, folks.